Okay, this is a movie. It's got a lot of different functions that are going to be in it. Flow is going to be one of the first ones that's used, but there will be a lot of other ones. Basically, here's the ring we're looking at, and it's got a lot going on. I call it lattice work. It's got some stuff draped over it, some flowers and such, some engraving on the top. Anyway, you can kind of see what's going on here. Kind of got it going on. It's got this engraving here as well. And of course, since I do just modeling and I'm not a jeweler, I'm just going to model what I see. And if you would do this on the bench or something, that's fine too. Okay, so the first thing I start out with, and here's some of it in various stages of completeness. And since I already built this thing, I didn't want to really start from scratch, or this movie might be quite long. But let's go ahead and look at what we have here and how it started out, and I'll reverse engineer the whole thing. Okay, so basically the first thing was to start out with Signet Builder, and I'm using 6-whip. Anything that I do in here you can also do in 5.4 using Rhino 4, so that's not an issue. But there's some stuff that has to be addressed with the surface that we get from the Signet Ring Builder. So I'm going to hit F6 and go down and hit Signet Builder. And with the finger rail selected, then we get a signet ring. And the first thing we need to address is surface versus polysurface. Now, here's a profile here, a chamfered profile, number 529 here. And the one that I wanted, there's also another one over here, simply called chamfer square. And the one I wanted had bigger corners, so I went ahead and made my own, and it's called chamfer more. Okay, so let's go ahead and select that one, and then either using the sliders or let's see, what do we got here? There we go. And then we'll go ahead and size this down. And down we go there. So I'm basically just making this thing thin, because we want it really skinny as it comes down along here. And let's see. Oh, I don't want to edit that. Let's close that. Let's pick see what profile we need to do here. It's not that one. Yeah, I think it was that one that I picked. Okay, so anyway, this was the start of it, and we'll go ahead and hit enter. And if we look at this and compare, let's put this just on a layer here. Okay. I could have made that skinnier still. But here's the deal. If we look at this surface and then go to object information, we can see it's a valid polysurface, and it's closed, and it has 16 surfaces. Well, that's not going to work for what I want, because if I simply just explode this thing so we can see it, that's a surface, that is, and if I want to flow stuff over this thing, then it's going to start and stop and not be what I want. So, having said that, I made another profile, and let's go back to, oops, no, I'm not lost. There we go. So now we're back here, and I made another profile called chamfer with fillets. Okay, and if we go to edit, you can see that instead of having sharp corners like the previous profile we just looked at, this one has rounded corners. Okay, and let's make this thing skinnier. There we go. And if we hit enter on that, now if we click on this, now let's just hit explode, we get one surface. So those fillets meant that Rhino could, when you make a surface in Rhino, it can just keep going. It considers this one happy surface. Okay. Unfortunately, this still isn't exactly what we want. One thing is you have to be very careful where you put your seam point when you make the profile. And I'll show you what I mean. If we go to Utilities and we go to Show Edges, All Edges, here's the seam point right here, and that's not very intuitive. The seam point should be at north or south or east or west, one of those corners, if you will. One thing you can do is, if you want to change it, you can go to, well, I don't know if this is I don't know if we added this to 6 yet or not. If we haven't, we're gonna. But anyway, the command is surf seam, SRF SEAM, and you can adjust the surface seam point, and we might put it. Let's turn this on. There we go. And so now the surface seam, if we go over and say show edges, is now here. Now I know from building this ring and the path that I'm going to go down, this surface still is not what I want. And the reason is that all the UV information is not built correctly, and when we go to do flow surface, we need to know the direction and the way this surface is built as compared to what we're going to put up on the surface, and that's probably a little vague. But anyway, what I determined was that this gave me all the pieces that I need in order to build what I want. I just had to remake a new surface. And so, oh shoot, this thing is still too wide. Let me go ahead and fix this thing. But anyway, basically what I did is, you can see that I duped this edge, okay, right up here in the green. So that was done with dupe edge right here. And then let's bring, here's the one. Here's the original one. We'll get rid of this one. There we go. So I duped edge, and then over here I did extract ISO curve. So ISO curve, click here, and then you can snap right there to the end, and there's where that curve came from. Over here we can dupe another ISO curve like so, okay, and there's that. Then what I did is, and I do this a lot to get ISO curves if you want more, in the looking down, I went ahead and went to surface and went to plane, and I drew a plane. You can draw it as one big one or two separate, doesn't matter. And I did an intersection of this and this. So you go to curve, intersection, and there's where this profile came from, although it seems different. This little U shape is this shape right here. Okay, so I'll go ahead and just keep that one there for now. We'll put it on gray. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that again. Intersect, gray. And let's turn this off. And then I simply went to blend, and I went from blend here to blend here. And that connected those. I really was not that interested in what the shape was. I just wanted it to continue. So doing this on both sides created this shape here. And I will say that based on doing designs like this, we do have some ideas for a builder in 6 and how to make a better developable surface for what we want. So there you go. Stay tuned, I guess. Okay. So that's how we arrived with this shape. And as you can see, I was interested in it going from here over and to there. So I went ahead and joined this whole thing up and then split it with this curve and this curve. So it's split right there. I've also split the original curve that kept going like this, and I split that with this profile so that it stopped on this upper half. If you look up here at the top of the ring, you can also see that after duping the edge of this, I've got this joined up and it's split. So essentially what we've made is a shape so far like that. That's what we're interested in. Now the last thing I want to control though is this edge over here. Now if you recall, we extracted an iso curve to here, and then what I did and how this ended up is I came over in the side viewport. I'll see if I can get this point across. And I made a curve. I simply made a curve that was going to come down here and along over to here. Let's go project is on, yeah, so that'll project that on through. So we go like that. Okay. And then what we had was a section of curve. Well, I'll just go ahead and do one. I'll go extract iso curve on this surface right there. Okay, so let's turn off green. Alright, so at that point I had a curve like so. And then I went blend, and I blended this to here. Except for I did a better job than that. Let's bring this in. We'll turn on the control points. So this came in like so. Alright, so now let's blend again. Blend, blend. There we go. Alright. Now, the thing is though, if we turn on this, and let's put this on this blue and turn this off. Okay, what we really want is we want we need this and this to intersect at one spot, and I don't think it is. No, it isn't. You can see it's a little off. When I did it before, it was way more off, if that's good grammar. So F4, and then we go straight over, and let's turn on intersect right here. Okay, so now we know that that is there. I don't know how this got below halfway, but I'm going to fix that. I'm going to take this curve and go to looking down and go to transform, and right here is project to C-plane, delete input. Yes. Alright, so that brought that up to halfway. And there you can see how far off we are. Okay, so here's a line, and we're going to select this, and we're going to go 1D scale from F4 over to where these intersect, and then scale it out till it hits the end of that. So that's how you fix that. And because we scaled from F4, which is where this is, these are still on F4 because we scaled out from that area. Alright, this is exciting. Yeah, now this, yeah, on my original one, apparently I did build that below below F4, which is no big deal. I'm going to revert back to that one here eventually, but okay. So there we go. There's that section of that. These don't really need. That was some other idea. Okay, so at this point we have a setup for what's going to be a as a matter of fact, let me hit undo, and I got to get back to where my green one's down here. But that's how I built that. That's how that all came about. And I don't need the blue. Okay, so now what we have is we have this setup right here. And this has set us up for a curve network. And curve network, the biggest thing that you need to realize with curve network is that you must have a 4-curve outside border, or at least this is the way it works best. So we have a border here, and then another section, and then in between that, from along this rail or along this rail, or along this rail coming down this way, you can fill it in with as many as you want to control the surface. In other words, I could snap lines and have it here. If it needed to bulge out here, I could have one that comes out and goes back in. But you must have this border for the curve network to understand what its border is. Alright, so as a matter of fact, we'll do a little comparison. We'll go ahead with those selected and hit curve network and say OK, and then let's shade this up. You can see that it filled that area in, and what the tool does that's different than sweep is it maintains its shape and then just goes down to the next shape in the quickest order that it can. Well, you can see that without this one, my ring slants in. So let's go ahead and include this one in the curve network now. And now you can see that it bows out like that. You can also see that this is one surface because of the rounded corners, so it's all nice and pretty and free-flowing. Okay, so there. And then we go and we'll bring that out. So that was extrude, so I extruded that circle. This one is going to get split by this one. And there's how we got to this purple surface right there. Okay, the next thing that we want to do then is set up our surface so that we can do flow along surface. When we select the surface and go to create UV curves and then simply hit enter, that's how we got, I call these bridges. These look like little old-time bridges there. Okay, and on top of this surface, we're going to use this surface to flow the parts that we make back up on here. Parts like our flowers and our little swirly things. There we go. So there's a flower right there. There's our swirly thing, as I would affectionately call that. And so let's go about making that. Okay. The first thing we need to do, so I'm going to use the stuff that I already have, but here's my curves for, I don't need this. Here's my curves for the flower, okay? And let's go ahead and do that. I started out, let's look at this from the top view. I started out, you could either start out with an ellipse right here, or a circle and squish it. You know, sometimes I draw a circle and then just start manipulating it. Make it do stuff it doesn't want to do, I guess. So here we have an ellipse, and the rare OSNAP is, for me, is tangent. I then drew a line starting just out here somewhere until I hit the tangent point of that ellipse. And then, of course, I simply mirrored this from a quad point, I'm sure, yep, like so, and selected this and went to trim. And you got to make sure that you don't leave something. Yeah, we're all right. It truly went tangent, so we're good to go there. Okay, so this is where this shape came from, and you know, I may not need all this. We can certainly chop that off wherever we need. In other words, we can ring like that and then trim. Okay, so perhaps this is our shape here. Then, of course, join and then offset. And the offset distance, we'll just go T for through point and go something like that. Now let's take a look with rebuild. Actually, we'll turn on there's the control points, or the edit points. Let's turn on control points. Yeah, that's a few too many. So let's go rebuild, had 21 points, let's try 11. Now when you do rebuild, I find a lot of people don't really, they kind of like how many do you put in here? What's the value? And there is no value. You look at the result of the rebuild, and wherever you see these two dots is the greatest deviation. Okay, I don't know if some people already know that, but if we go 5 and hit preview, there's the greatest deviation. Okay, if we go 33, oops, not 333. There's the greatest deviation there. Well, you can see that 33 is way overkill based on our 11. There's our deviation, maybe 12. No, it wants to be an odd number. We can see that. You know, that's okay for today. 11 is fine. Okay, then we turn on, and I just simply move this in here. So here's what I'm looking at. If you're like, well, what are you building? There's a lip here, and it goes around, then it comes in and goes back. So that's the shape that I'm making, like so. And see? Okay. At this point, we just need a profile right here. So what I like to do is simply draw that. Here's arc direction. Click, click. It does not matter how big it is whatsoever. And then we do transform, orient 2 points. Select object to orient, reference point 1, reference point 2. Okay, so there's that part of it. And then we come over here and we go target point 1, target point 2, and then just hit enter to finish that command. basically we can now go surface sweep 2, 1, 2, and run that thing right around there. We can either maintain the height or let it change as it goes around. And sometimes letting it change produces a more free form, a more, you wouldn't just like place all these profiles and make this thing go up and down like that. If you want to maintain it and you don't want it to jump around like that, well then by all means. This might be a little more flower-like though. You never know. I don't know if I did that on my other one. Okay. At this point, let me take a look at my flower here. It's been a while since I made it. Yeah, I remember what I did. Okay. So at this point, what I would normally do then is shoot for blend here. Let's go to utilities and we'll go to split edge. We'll select the edge to split right there, and in the midpoint we'll split that. Okay. So now if we select this and go to show edges, you can see that there's a dot there. That's a split. Okay. So let's go ahead and turn that off. We'll go to surface, blend, and here's one edge, enter, blend to this edge, enter, and we get this really deep, crazy surface. We may want to take this like down to nothing. There we go. And we'll hit OK. Now what I didn't like about this, although it's fine, it had quite an undercut here and seemed kind of weird. I recall doing this now. And if you wanted to control this, well then we would have to do something else. So what I did is I went ahead and went to extract ISO curve, and I extracted one right there. And then I also went to extract ISO curve and hit T for toggle and extracted one right at the midpoint. Alright, and then I ditched this thing. Okay. And this curve right here, I said split with a point, and I split it back. Let's just do it over here. I split it probably right there. So that got rid of that under part. Then I went to blend, of course, and blended that like so. Okay. And then let's go ahead. Oh, no, you know what I did? I know what else I did. Now let's go blend from here to here. Okay, and then we need to connect this dot here. So let's take this and move it. So move from here to the midpoint. Thank you. And we'll blend that on up to there. That's what we're looking for. So now let's join this. We have a curve there. So here is a curve network, like so. Now this one didn't have the 4 curves, but it did have a boundary. It had this curve and this curve. That makes the boundary. Anything else going in there. And it can be 4 or less, but it can't be more. If it's 5, it doesn't work very well. That's what I have found. Okay. At this point, we can make the end of this thing however we want. Well, here, I'll show you. Let's see. Let's go ahead and let's make the back of this thing now. This surface, split surface, right there. Okay, and we will blend again from this side, enter to this side. Yeah, okay. And let's just run that on down and hit enter and see what we get. That'll work. Well, it should have come out probably. Yeah, let's do that again. Blend there to there, and let's bring this out a bit. I don't want that to get too thin down there. There we go. There's some material there. Oh. Well, I guess we'll do this the same way we did before. I'm going to steal isocurves. There's a lot of tension in this surface, and Blend really didn't care for it too much. So let's dupe this edge. And let's extract an iso curve. T for toggle. Right there. That'll work. Throw this one away. Fix this thing. Split with a point here and here. Blend. Give you a whole new appreciation for flowers. Earning this one. Okay, so there's another curve network. Okay. At that point, we can select all that, hit join. And we can make this surface however we want, but what might be nice, since this is, let's see, where's cylinder? Right here. We'll start right there. Then I'm just going to move this over here. You get split by you. Let's hit explode on that. This surface is the one that needs split with this. Oh, hang on. I was like, man, it's not splitting, of course, because I'm doing a movie. Well, it would help if my split surface actually went past it. That would help. So you get split by you. There we go. I couldn't really fathom why that was not going to split. Now we have a couple choices. Some people might stop and let's just hide this. They might stop and like patch this surface or something. I myself am just going to use what I have here. Let's hit explode on this thing, and we'll get rid of this and this. And if we take all this and hit join again, and then say you get split by you, then we have a cap that we just made, like so. So there's all the stuff we didn't need, and there's my fine part. Like so. And we'll join that to that. Okay. The rest of this wasn't very high-tech as far as the flower goes. We'll go here, make a circle. However big this needed to be. Let's go 2D scale from here. and then perhaps 1D scale. No, I think I kept that round. So this would have to be actually bigger till that meets that. Well, you can see I had a much smaller, much more narrow shape there. But anyway, then we'll 1D scale down this way, like so, kind of like that. And then the center point, let's just use cage. Cage edit right here. If you don't use 6-whip and you don't see this, I think you can find it up here, or in transform up here. I think we have cage in 5.4, or you can type cage edit. Anyway, bounding box, enter, point count, let's go 3. 3, oops, 3. And 3. Degree 2, I guess. So we go 3 there. That's a whole nother explanation of a movie. I have to do a movie just on what Cage is doing alone. Oh, we have to go 4 if we're going to go 3. Fine. Okay, and then you hit enter. And I grabbed, actually, I just want this one, this one, this one. I'm holding down shift, of course. And ring. And that will kind of make a hockey puck out of that thing, as far as, well, not really, a kind of a pillow, where it's starting to pull that in. We could also turn on the control points, which is going to be, they're going to be very hard to select. Okay, so here I might as well throw out a new Rhino 4 command. Let's go over here, and like I just said, these are going to be very hard to select because I want to do like this region right, let's say right here, and I'm like, oh cool, I got those. I also got these back here. Not useful. Okay, there's a command, there's no button for it, but it's cull. If you type C-U-L-L, and then it's control polygon. And when you turn that on, control polygon culling is on. Okay, you can see now on the back side there are no dots. And what's really funky is you rotate this, Rhino will draw those dots. See them popping in there? And now they're going away. So whatever is on the back face culling is where the program knows what's the front and what's the back, what's the inside and what's the outside. So culling is where it's not showing the back face, whatever these are, these points, control handles. So I am free to now select this region and not get anything on the back side because it's not showing them. And then I can go down and pull that in quite a bit. So either cage, and maybe a cage of 5 would have been better. So I had a point right in the middle. You know, the 1, 2, 3, 4 put a point here and here, whereas if I had one, if I would have done 5, that's why I started out doing 3. Okay, so there's that. There's my cage. I'll throw that away. And there's that. So the command again was cull control polygon. Yay. Okay, at this point we would go and do a polar array. Of course, from the center of that, it was a 4 deal flower, and you know, this, I just built this quick and down and dirty to get across what's going on here. But that's how that whole flower was made. Probably make another one here later in the video. And there's what it looks like. I just made this, I really pulled this into a point on this one, which is fine. And I made sure that these are touching. And there you go.